Did you know that Amy Elizabeth is a multimillionaire who eats cat food just to save money? Or that Dave Cat fell madly in love with a plastic doll? Today, you'll discover 20 people with unusual lives. Let's watch it. It's fascinating. Dave Cat. This man from Michigan had a radical life change in 2000 when he met his future wife, Sidore Kuroneko, in a store and took her home after paying $6,000. Since human trafficking is illegal, the only way this could happen is because his beloved partner isn't a flesh and blood woman. She's actually a plastic doll. Most people see dolls as nothing more than toys or decorations, but a growing number of men like Dave Cat claim they're lifelong companions with whom they even share wedding rings, despite not being legally married. Dave Cat admits that Sidore isn't just an object, but a source of companionship and affection in a world that often judges him for his lifestyle choice. By 2012, he felt his plastic family wasn't big enough, so he acquired a second doll named Elena Vostrikova to keep Sidore company when he's not home. The most disturbing part is that he created a backstory for Elena, saying she moved from Russia to Michigan because she wanted to be with him. This behavior, though seemingly harmless, suggests a disconnection from reality and may be linked to agalmatophilia, a disorder where people develop attraction to inanimate objects. It reflects difficulties in forming real relationships and might be a way to escape loneliness, highlighting the importance of seeking psychological help. Amy Elizabeth. If you were a wealthy person with a net worth of over $5 million, you'd probably live in a mansion, drive a Mercedes-Benz, and be surrounded by the finest luxuries like a king. This is usually the image we have of the super rich, unless you're Amy, who proudly claims to be the world's cheapest millionaire. Instead of leading an enviable lifestyle, she's ultra strict with her spending, claiming she never buys anything new and even eats cat food because it's cheaper. Despite having a net worth of $5.3 million, she refuses to exceed her monthly budget of $1,000, which is why she's developed several tricks to save money, such as keeping the water heater turned off except for a few minutes each morning to shower. Her habit of not buying new items saves her up to $200,000 a year. The most incredible part is her reason for buying cat food. It helps her save a measly 30 cents compared to the cost of a can of tuna. Even when she has guests over, she serves them the same cat food without a hint of shame. Amy's life is shocking and baffling because while most people dream of having millions in the bank to live in luxury, she prefers to save every penny, even if it means eating pet food to avoid spending extra money. Alice Caron. This 19-year-old French woman lives her life with an appearance that defies norms, perceiving herself as a space goblin through makeup, clothing, and prosthetics. This might be a troubling sign of a disconnect from reality. From a psychological perspective, this behavior suggests a potential escape from her true identity and the real world. Completing her look isn't easy. Each day, she spends at least 2 hours transforming her appearance. First, she covers her skin with green paint, then decorates her hair with multicolored tones and finishes with fantasy clothing. This process is not just a beauty routine, but a ritual that brings out her true personality. Inspired by fantasy, gothic fashion, cyberpunk, and the vibrant Harajuku fashion of Japan, Alice has created a unique and fascinating style. Although her boyfriend prefers a classic and simple look, he fully supports her artistic expression, making them a contrasting couple. However, Alice's journey to self-confidence hasn't been easy. In high school, her preference for a striking and unconventional appearance made her a target for bullying because her peers didn't understand her need to stand out and criticized her for not fitting in. Instead of giving in to social pressure, Alice distanced herself even further from reality, reinforcing her defense mechanism with a new identity as a space goblin, where external pressure only deepened her disconnect from reality. Nea Vitama. 21st century Finland is home to this young woman who looks like a time traveler from the court of Queen Marie Antoinette in the 18th century. With her dresses full of ruffles and bows, she evokes an era when courtesans adorned themselves with exquisite elegance, a style that was revived centuries later with the Lolita fashion in Japan. Nia was drawn to this Japanese trend and was fascinated by the contrast it offered compared to the typical dark and minimalist outfits of her Finnish compatriots. However, her passion led her to go further, adopting a more authentic look inspired by French courtesans. she began collecting meticulously designed dresses made to the same standards as 18th century royalty. Living the Lolita style is not a cheap hobby. Since then, the Finnish girl has invested more than 10,000 euros in her wardrobe, accessories, and shoes, with each piece carefully selected to complete her impressive collection. When she steps out, her presence doesn't go unnoticed, especially by children who are amazed and rush to take pictures, thinking they're seeing a real princess. Kimberly Eventide. Fantasy novels and movies like The Lord of the Rings were the catalyst for this British woman to begin identifying as a Pleiadian starseed, a person who claims to have memories of past lives and connections with other forms of life on distant planets. Since then, the 36-year-old woman has claimed to be an elf and took her love for fantasy to a whole new level. She dresses in velvet and silk clothing and uses prosthetics to give her ears a pointed appearance. Her jewelry is adorned with ornamental details and nature-inspired motifs, reflecting her connection with the elven world she so venerates. But her passion doesn't stop there. Kimberiel owns 5 different types of pointed ears, which she changes according to her mood, using them to show her commitment and love for her elf identity. Unlike others with alternative lifestyles, her family has decided to normalize her behavior to such an extent that even her husband affectionately calls her Aragorn. But how should a family handle such an identity disorder? Without a doubt, the guidance of a psychologist is crucial. What do you think? Tina Trachtenberg. Resembling the pigeon lady from Home Alone 2, Tina is an artist based in New York who, since the late 80s, has befriended a flock of pigeons living near her apartment. After decades of coexistence, the birds know her well and follow her everywhere, like her personal army of pigeons. Whenever she leaves home, she carries a bag of bird seed to feed the animals she encounters along the way. This daily routine has made her a local celebrity, attracting attention wherever she goes, with her flock following her in a lively, colorful aerial dance. But Tina doesn't stop there. To demonstrate her love for pigeons in her art, she channeled all her creativity into creating a series of impressive sculptures featuring pigeons as the main characters. At the same time, she hopes her works raise public awareness about the kind and charming nature of urban birds, which have long carried a negative reputation in city environments. Lauren. This girl is a college student like any other young person her age, except for one unique and somewhat misunderstood passion. She is a fervent fan of the furry subculture. This style involves dressing in an animal costume similar to those worn by sports team mascots or amusement park entertainers, but with a crucial difference. She wears her fox suit both in her private life and in public. Wherever she goes, she faces disapproving looks and mocking laughter from others, but there is a good reason for her to remain steadfast in her choice. When she wears her furry suit, she reveals her more talkative and outgoing side because dressing as a plush animal gives her a confidence she doesn't have when she's not in costume. Lauren was once outgoing, but her father's death at 13 made her introverted. While her family's normalization of her furry subculture involvement may seem supportive, it's important to recognize that such extreme coping mechanisms often hide deeper psychological issues. Instead of just accepting these behaviors, a thorough understanding and professional intervention are crucial to addressing the underlying emotional struggles. Kate Hashimoto. Statistics indicate that a single person needs a minimum of $5,106 per month to live relatively comfortably in New York. However, there is someone who found a way to live in the Big Apple on a budget of just $200. Though to achieve this, she needs to perform a few disgusting tasks that most people would never be willing to do in their lives. Kate explains that if she has to spend money, she does everything possible to pay the least amount, whether by haggling to get a better price, and if that strategy doesn't work, she has no qualms about diving into the city's dumpsters until she finds what she's looking for. Thanks to this strategy, she has filled her apartment with furniture and other items she found in trash bins, saving herself hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Since she never found a bed in the trash, she sleeps on several yoga mats arranged on a table. When she goes to the bathroom, she uses newspaper as toilet paper and hasn't bought underwear since 1998. The most surprising and disgusting part is that she looks for food in restaurant and store dumpsters through a practice known as dumpster diving, which helps her find good food that was discarded. Kate's story might seem too exaggerated to be true, but the reality is that New York is one of the most expensive cities in the world, so living there has become a constant challenge of ingenuity and extreme frugality that allows her to stay afloat in the Big Apple. Jennifer. It is relatively common for some people to develop addictions to certain foods, but what is truly startling is that this woman has been devouring mattresses for 20 years. She admits that she is especially attracted to the foam filling, to the point of consuming a square meter of the material daily. And since she started her peculiar obsession, she has ingested a total of 8 whole mattresses. Jennifer explains that once she tears an opening in the mattress, there's no turning back, and she begins to devour it piece by piece until only the metal frame remains as a reminder of her horrifying addiction. The most astonishing thing is that she eats so much foam that she often clogs the toilet, which has generated great concern from her family about the effects of non-edible materials on her health. After countless discussions with her family, she agreed to see a doctor who examined her and gave a terrifying warning. If she continued eating mattresses, she had only a few years left to live. This diagnosis was a devastating blow, but also a wake-up call that made her reconsider her obsession. With the support of her family and friends, she committed to stop eating foam immediately. Chantal Banks. Most people are satisfied with having a dog or cat as a pet. However, this woman thinks a bit differently. She has 19 rats as pets, which she considers her own children. Yes, you read that right. 19 rats of all sizes running around her house. While the rest of us would feel true terror being surrounded by so many rodents, Chantal prefers the company of her rats, even when she has a human child. The young man recalls with unease that during his childhood, his only siblings were a flock of rats, which even had human names like Lily or Janice. For Chantal, these rats are not just pets. They are an extension of her soul. What better way to demonstrate this than allowing them to lick her lips, take food directly from her mouth, and run over her while she sleeps? Habits that the rest of the world would find repulsive. If you wonder how this unexpected connection with animals that have never been classified as pets began, it started when she was 16 and found her first rat, whom she describes as a creature that gave her purpose in life at a time when she needed it most. But this devotion hasn't been without sacrifices and uncomfortable moments, such as when her husband said enough and left after 11 years of marriage because he was fed up with the amount of money and attention Chantal devoted to her pets. Nevertheless, the rodent lover confesses that the price she paid was tiny compared to the love and happiness these little creatures bring her every day. Sharon Reynolds. Can you imagine having an army of stuffed pigs watching over you day and night? This idea might seem a bit unsettling, but for Sharon, this is her daily reality since she started collecting all kinds of items related to these farm animals. Every corner of her home is invaded by stuffed pigs, figurines, and memorabilia that testify to her deep love for her porcine companions. The most astonishing thing is that her husband Stephen does not share the same enthusiasm, but he has resigned himself to living in a house where pigs have all the prominence. This peculiar devotion dates back to 1973, when she worked as a kindergarten teacher. One day, a piglet was brought to the class for the children to meet, and it was love at first sight. At that moment, she began collecting all kinds of toys and items related to her new favorite animal. At the same time, Stephen admits that the situation has become a real challenge because the collection has grown so much that they no longer have space for more memorabilia, and they certainly don't have the money to buy a bigger house. Nonetheless, this setback does not stop Sharon, who dedicates at least 15 hours a week searching for new pig-related items online to fuel her boundless passion. Carmen and Lupita Andrade. Born in Mexico in 2002, these twins entered the world joined from the chest to the pelvis, sharing a unique anatomy and defying all medical expectations. Knowing that they share the spine, liver, circulatory system, reproductive system, and intestines makes it clear that every day of their lives has been an unimaginable challenge for the rest of us. Although each has her own heart, lungs, stomach, and 2 arms, Carmen controls the right leg and Lupita the left. So the doctors who studied their case declared that their lives have been a continuous miracle. In fact, at birth, they were given only 3 days to live. At that time, they recommended not separating them because they share too many vital organs, but they did not take into account that both have an indomitable spirit that has allowed them to grow and live full lives. Today, at over 20 years old, not only do they live, but they also thrive, each showing her unique personality, with Carmen being the more outgoing and energetic one, while Lupita is more reserved and calm. Currently residing in Connecticut, the twins are determined to pursue their passion for animals, so their dream is to study veterinary medicine to care for the beings they love so much. Additionally, they both admit that their condition presents daily challenges, but advancements in modern medicine give them hope for a long and fulfilling life. Cassia Shells. Beyond her daily job as a social media community manager, this girl's true passion lies in her fascination with mermaids. Since childhood, her world has been enveloped in the mystique of these sea creatures, whether collecting dolls or immersing herself in enchanted sea stories. But her love for mermaids did not stop there. Once she had the opportunity, it became a genuine obsession that added an aquatic touch to her life. Just imagine her gracefully gliding through the water with a silicone mermaid tail, navigating pools and the open sea as if she were a true inhabitant of the depths. For Cassia, it is not just a pastime, but a manifestation of her true essence. In fact, she firmly believes that mermaids exist, hidden in the deepest corners of the ocean. Thanks to her enthusiasm, the young Canadian turned her home into a marine sanctuary, decorating every corner with elements that evoke the beauty and mystery of the sea. Although she was not born with the anatomy of the Little Mermaid, her silicone tail allows her to live her dream of being a mermaid in real life. So as soon as she hits the water, with every stroke, she feels the freedom and magic of being part of a world where fantasy and reality intertwine. Ashley Galliot. Deep in the forests of Louisiana lives this girl whose love for fantasy has led her to a life beyond extraordinary. Although her legal name is Ashley Galliot, in her heart and soul, she is Thistle, a mermaid fairy. She also claims to have her own magical workshop, hidden in the farthest part of the forest, where she makes her dresses and jewelry. The story of her alter ego is more than a mere obsession with fantasy. It is actually a powerful illusion created by Ashley to cope with the darkest moments of her life. It all began when her husband enlisted in the army and was sent across the country for 2 long years, causing anxiety and loneliness to threaten to consume her. In response, she found solace in her fascination with fairies, and quickly her interest became a lifestyle. To combat her pain, she began crafting elaborate fairy costumes, which allowed her to transform into her alter ego, Thistle. Over the years, her devotion to this fantastical world grew to the point where she began to truly believe she was a fairy who had jumped from the pages of a storybook to live in the real world. Taylor and McKenna. These twin sisters caused a real sensation on social media due to their astonishing resemblance to Ariana Grande. Not only do the girls share a face almost identical to the famous Seven Rings singer, but they took their admiration a step further by recreating her most iconic looks with simply impressive results. From the signature hairstyle to the most emblematic outfits, the twins perfected their art to the point of being practically indistinguishable from the music star. Unfortunately, it hasn't been easy for them since some of Ariana's fans expressed their discontent, claiming it is wrong to copy her style. They even received so many negative comments that they considered closing their Instagram and TikTok profiles. Instead of giving in to negativity, Taylor and McKenna decided to ignore the haters and continue with their passion, which today leads them to live as Ariana Grande's clones with such perfection that they could easily replace her at her concerts without anyone noticing the difference. Rhonda. Thumb sucking is a completely normal behavior in babies and young children, but when the habit continues beyond this age, it can raise concerns due to potential issues such as damage to teeth or ear infections. Rhonda, 24, is well aware of these risks, but cannot stop sucking her thumb as she did as a child. For her, this act goes beyond a mere habit, as it is a source of comfort and a way to calm her anxiety. In fact, her earliest childhood memory goes back to when she was 4 years old, sitting on her bed with her thumb in her mouth. But that's not all. Rhonda also lovingly keeps a part of the blanket she used as a baby, so before sucking her thumb, she wraps her hand with this blanket, creating a comfort ritual that transports her to a safer, less complicated time. This behavior, although unusual for an adult, intensified when she was 12. During the same period, her parents went through a painful divorce that fractured the family. Thumb sucking, though often seen as a childish habit, signals deeper psychological issues. It acts as an emotional refuge and a connection to her younger self, indicating underlying distress that requires professional attention. Wendy Marshall. At the age of 2, Wendy began to display an unusual and surprising habit. She preferred eating raw meat. Her fascination with this food was so great that during her childhood, she would silently approach the kitchen to take pieces of uncooked meat. It wasn't until she started high school that she realized how strange her eating habit was, but she decided to ignore others' opinions and continued with this obsession, which eventually turned into her lifestyle. At 36, Wendy passionately defends her choice and explains that the negative reactions to her habit are not based on scientific grounds, but on social conditioning that rejects the consumption of raw meat. Additionally, she points out that in some cultures in Africa and Asia, eating raw meat is perfectly normal and accepted. Despite the constant criticism, particularly regarding hygiene issues, Wendy assures that as long as cleanliness is prioritized, there are no significant risks. And she concludes by stating that the bloody taste of raw meat is an irreplaceable delight. Riley. This is the story of a 25-year-old woman residing in Buffalo, New York, who found an unexpected refuge within an unconventional lifestyle that most of society would disapprove of. For the past 12 years, she has dedicated 12 hours a day to living as a baby, whether drinking milk from a bottle, sleeping in a crib, playing in a playpen, and wearing diapers. The reason behind this peculiar choice lies in a childhood marked by sadness and lack of affection. Unlike most children, Riley did not have the opportunity to experience the carefree joy of childhood, so as an act of profound personal healing, she decided to recreate those lost years by performing the tasks that a baby would normally do. However, her journeys into childhood innocence are not cheap, as she spends nearly $500 a month on bottles and diapers designed for an adult body. In any case, the most concerning aspect is not the financial details, but the reactions from those around her, which range from incomprehension to outright disapproval. Many struggle to understand why a 25-year-old lives as a baby, but this behavior indicates a serious psychological issue. It serves as a maladaptive coping mechanism for unresolved emotional trauma, providing a false sense of security and affection she lacked in childhood. Oscar Duke. Using the name Prince Charming of London, this young man is a singer, model, entrepreneur, and influencer from one of the wealthiest families in Europe. His fortune allows him to spend thousands of dollars on aesthetic treatments, attend luxurious parties every week, and have a wardrobe full of designer clothes, most of which he wears only once, just to have an excuse to buy even more clothes. However, behind his glamorous facade, Oscar faces a personal dilemma. He fears finding a girlfriend due to his lifestyle. Potential partners often feel discouraged by the huge burden of maintaining his youthful appearance. And in fact, the young Londoner admits he doesn't go on a date without first visiting his favorite surgeon to get touch-ups on his face. When asked about his real age, he always refuses to answer, wishing to maintain his image as a fantasy prince who never ages. Although his lifestyle continues to interfere with his search for a girlfriend, the Londoner insists that he values his own beauty above any girl. And if he ever finds someone willing to be with him, he admits that this person will have to get used to dealing with someone obsessed with shopping and beauty treatments above all else. So, which of these lifestyles do you find the most unusual? Leave your opinion in the comments. Here are 2 options that you'll surely love.